Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am finally there. I have made a card with my final two images that I colored for the coloring challenge. It took me a while, but it worked out. As you know, I did a coloring challenge where I took 11 images of this amazing release products by Purple Onion Designs. They are illustrated by Stacey Yacula. As you all know, she is amazing. And I colored this fox and the mailbox for the coloring challenge. Now, the idea that I had was to incorporate all the images that I colored this year really on cards, because I participated on some other coloring challenges and I still have some images laying around, and that's just horrible. That's not the point at all, I think. But yeah, that happened. So I sort of challenged myself to create a card with each and every colored in image. And with today having this video for you, that means that I succeeded in the plan. So you might have already seen this coloring because I shared it on Instagram through the Instagram TV that they have since a while now. So maybe you already saw this, but I am going from darkest to lightest, and then I just go back and forth again to get the perfect transition as I want it to have. This paper that I'm using today is a Transotype perfect coloring paper. It gives me more wiggle room to really do a lot of layers without having my markers to bleed outside of the lines. So that's an advantage of this paper. However, I think it has a different color than what you get on Nina, and it also needs more layers than Nina, in my opinion. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that you might want to know before you buy the paper, because some people really like the colors on Nina, as I am one of those people. I already tried a lot of papers out, and there are some that I will never use again because I really don't like how the markers are turning out on that paper, but this one I like. So I'm just coloring in my fox. I have some bright colors for this one, and then his accessories I will do a bit muted. I will use one of my favorite blues. So yeah, this fox and the mailbox were lying around for a while already. If you would be interested to see the specific colors that I use on each image as well as on my background later on, I will have the Copic Markers listed on my blog per image, or all the markers that I use on the background. Those are listed together, just easy for reference. So in the description box there is always a link towards my blog post. If I use a lot of markers, I try to really show you in the blog post which marker went where, to have some sort of an overview. If I use less markers, I normally don't do that because I think it's clear then what I use where. But yeah, just if you're interested to check it out later, or when you perhaps want to color these images the same way sometimes or another fox, just go to the blog. That's easy for you. It's all over there. Then you don't need to stop this video or write anything down, or however you would tackle that. So that's how I'm coloring these images. For the mailbox, I also used a art metal paint to add some gold details. So there is not only the Copic marker, of course, but also a bit of paint. So this fox is almost colored in. I'm not doing it in the video, but I will add Stickles to the white parts that I'm now coloring with the BG70 a bit. Yeah. Here, as you saw, this is art metal. It's pale gold. It's, yeah, some sort of a gold paint that I got out of a store once when I went to the Netherlands. And it's a gorgeous gold. I decided to use exactly the the thickness of the paint as it is, because I am not coloring on watercolor paper. I'm going to use my Copics. So that's why I really keep this paint really thick, so that the paper is not handling water or anything. I also tested it out. I can add this paint before I do the Copics and then just go over it with the Copics if needed. So that was handy, because this is the most intricate part. If I would have done it afterwards and it would fail, then I would have colored this mailbox for nothing. So that's why I started with it, since it was a possibility. And then for the mailbox, I will use some yellow greens and greens. I will use yellow green 67, yellow green 17, and green 43. And those are the colors that I'm going to use. As you probably know, Purple Onion Designs doesn't have dyes, so I had to fussy cut everything, but it worked out fine, so no issues with that. Also, I didn't show the stamping of these images, but really important, these rubber stamps are unmounted, so it's really necessary that you have some sort of a mounting stamp. So I bought the clear mounting stamp by on the side itself from Purple Onion Designs. That's really easy, it works definitely, because she recommends it, and I like it, so I bought that one. If you want to see how you can stamp out images or placement or whatever you need, because you cannot see through rubber stamps, I have some other videos where I am doing 1 layers of these images, a 1 layer card, so I had to fiddle with placement a bit, but just check out one of my previous videos. There you can find how I'm stamping everything out. I will also stamp out the sentiment for this card, so in the end you will also have some sort of an idea how I tackle it. But it's really easy when you're not going to do 1 layer to just stamp every image out, and then you will fussy cut it anyway, so you don't have to fiddle with placement or anything. Here I am going to place my backgrounds. So I'm using today for this card the Church Horizon. I love this image. I don't know why, but I love it. So I sort of place it. You cannot see how it's going to turn out. Then I forgot the clear mounting stamp, of course, so I added it to my box that I'm using for storage currently. So I'm just placing it on top of the rubber stamp. Then I'm going to grab it with my window from this Misty, and I'm first going to stamp it out onto a piece of acetate. This piece of acetate, I trimmed it just to fit into my Misty. I keep it there for whatever occasion, and then I can check it. So then you can place your panel behind, and you can really see where you want placement to be. Keep your plastic in the corner and move with your cardstock. You just move around with your panel behind the plastic, and then you know that placement is right. And then you can stamp your image exactly where you want it to. Sometimes you're really lucky and then everything is perfect. I think with the sentiment I was really lucky on this card. Sometimes you really need to twist your paper like I did here to get placement fine. So the background. I decided to try out my markers. Not anything fancy. I'm not like an expert on doing backgrounds with markers, definitely not. But what I currently do is just create a transition with the markers. So the markers that I really like using together, like these blues, I use it on the accessories as well from the Fox. I'm just creating a gradient, going back and forth with the colors, but not anything fancy. So the sky is almost ready, and then I can start on the church. So I'm not going to do any blending on the church. It's a precious little church on the back. I just decided to really let those windows stand out, and the roofs, those have darker color, but I'm really using only one marker per for each part of this church. Now onto the trees. I am only going to use 2 markers for all the trees on this card, being the BG96 and Yellow Green 93. I think it's a gorgeous green combination, and it also fits with the muted blue that I used on the top of this card on the sky. And once that's done, I am going to add a bit of color to this snowy hill. Not a lot again, keeping it really simple. I'm not really like trained or practiced in creating backgrounds with my markers, so I keep it as simple as possible. And for the snow, I will be using G0000, so 4 zeros, and then G00 as well. Okay, so that is the background, and now I'm going to stamp out my sentiment. So as I did previously, I'm first going to try it out onto the acetate. So therefore I'm using a black ink. That's really handy to see, and if you have a grid underneath, then you can check the sentiment by looking at the grid. And it seemed that my sentiment was straight, so I just clean it off, and now I'm going to stamp it out onto my card panel using Versamark clear embossing ink, and then I will use my NUVO embossing powder Glacier white to heat emboss this sentiment. So now I'm going to adhere my images using a combination of liquid glue and foam squares. Next, I will take out my Winsor & Newton Designer Gouache Permanent White, and I will do some splattering on top of this background. Now, when I was splattering, I don't know if you've experienced it a lot, and maybe there is a solution for it, but sometimes I have some sort of strokes of my splatters that go all in like one line instead of just random splatters. And I don't necessarily hate them, but I don't want them to be all over my cards. So if I have it once or twice, that's fine. If I have it multiple times, then I really get annoyed by it. And today on this card I also had that, so you will see me splatter and it will go fine, and then all of a sudden in one spot there are multiple times the illusion of having a line of splatters like just above my mailbox, sort of. I just thought there was too much, so I tried to sort of scrape a bit of it away using my craft knife. Well, that didn't work out. It just stayed there a bit, so then I tried to add a few thicker snowdrops by just using my paintbrush. That also didn't cover it up, and I was really getting annoyed. So then I thought maybe I can just, with a damp paintbrush, just sort of remove it, but keeping in mind that I am using Transotype paper and that cannot handle water, so I couldn't exaggerate with water. That also didn't help. You see like a white faded thing, and I was starting to getting really nervous because everything was adhered, the panel was sort of finished. Yeah, so panic again. I think I have lately a lot of panic situations when I'm making cards, so that's not really helping. Then these pieces that I'm now scraping off were some thicker splatters. They wouldn't dry, so also fiddling with that, it just kept going, the fiddling. And then I thought maybe I can just scribble my marker around, and then it will, the sort of blurred white will be gone. But then I had those stripes again on my really we just keep going, like it's ruined. You can only keep going and hoping that something will work. So here I really saw like the spot that I just went over with my markers. So then I decided maybe I can just flick a bit more with the markers. So that meant that I was going to go over splatters that I made. So I tried these adorable things by Little Things from Lucy's Cards, but they were too white for my taste, so the flicking started. Just try to do exactly the same that I did previously when I was making the background, just going in strokes, also making sure that the transition was still there. And then, yeah, all my splatters were blue, so I decided to take my colorless blender and go over sort of every spot that I saw that was from the gouache. Yeah, I was going mental at this stage because I tried so many things, and it was already better, but still, you know, when you're making something and you see that one mistake and you cannot get around it, like we are our worst critic ever. So this was still not working for me. I was still going to throw it away if this was going to be the finished card. So I didn't want to stop here. So I decided to try one more embellishment. Stars weren't going to work in my opinion because I had so many splatters and there was just no link with stars on this one. So I tried these bubbles, the gorgeous bubbles by Little Things from Lucy's Cards, and these are sort of iridescent, so they cover up the color underneath, and then again they don't. So I just placed a big one on my spot that I couldn't get over, and that actually worked for me. I hope you think the same, because after adding all these bubbles, I will call this panel finished. This was the only way that I could live with the panel. So that's my solution. So after doing 500 things that didn't work, I worked out this idea, and maybe I should just have done it from the beginning so that there would be less fiddling, but you know, we learn on the go. So the bubbles by Little Things from Lucy's Cards are the solution on every problem that I possibly have. I will keep that in mind. They will stay on my desk forever because they are my lifesaver. I'm adding my panel to my car base, and then off camera I also added Stickles, of course, to the white of the head and then the mittens, because I love that, and I don't know why I forgot to do that while I was filming. But now I said it, and in the pictures you will really see the glitter and shine of the amazing Stickles. I used the Stardust Stickles, just for the ones who are interested, and that's my card. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Christmas is coming closer. I only have a few cards left to share with you, Christmas themed. So I hope you will still be there to watch those. If you have any questions, you can definitely ask them down below in the comments. I love you all. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you back soon. Bye!